Python Essentials 2 module for test. What is the expected output of the following code? So we are importing from Datetime module. We import the date entity. So date one, we create a date, 16th of January 92, and we create another date, and we just print out the difference between these dates. So this one is actually kind of the time delta, all right? And the difference between these two dates is date one is later than date two, which means the difference is positive. Okay, and the difference is 1 year minus 1 month. Okay, so that should be 345 days. Okay, all options here are 345 days, so I don't even need to calculate that too much. Yeah, so basically what I need to know is what is the default output format for the time delta. And as a matter of fact, I remember that it has to list the days, right? How many days are there, then comma, and then the time difference. And in this case, there is no any time, so time difference should be 0, 0, 0, 0. So that should be the correct option here. What is the expected result of executing the following code? We define a function O. Inside it, we define the function Q, which returns the duplication of the asterisk to the P parameter, and then we return the Q itself as a function. So function Q defined inside the O, and O returns Q as its own result. So it's a function. This is what is called closure in Python. Sometimes it's pretty useful. So let's see what will happen. So we have R defined as O of 1, right? So what it should do, it should return a function, okay, which is not yet kind of executed, but it's a function of 1, right? And this is a function of 2, okay? So far, this does pretty much nothing, just defines these functions. And these functions, they are called over here. So result of this is concatenated with the result of this, because we are dealing with strings here. So let's see. This will return 1, and it will be multiplied or duplicated. So this will just return the asterisk. And this one with 2, it will return basically 2 asterisks. Okay, and overall concatenation will give 3 asterisks, and that should be the answer. Select the true statements. We have lambdas here. The lambda function can accept a maximum of 2 arguments. That's not correct. It can accept any number of arguments, which is this option. The lambda function can evaluate multiple expressions. Or it can evaluate only one expression. It can evaluate only one expression. It can be pretty big and nested and whatever, however complex, but it has to be just one expression and one result. What keyword would you use to define an anonymous function? It is the lambda keyword, as we have just seen in the previous question. What is the expected output of the following code? We import OS, and we create directory and change into this directory. Okay, let's figure this out. What we do, we create the pic directory, pictures directory. Then we change into there, and we create a thumbnails directory under it. So that will be thumbnails here. We change into thumbnails, and inside thumbnails, we create the TMP directory. Okay, so at this moment we are in the thumbnails directory, and without going into TMP, we changed into the parent directory. So we actually move back to the pictures, and then we print where we are. So because get CWD means get current working directory, and that should print pictures. Okay. And the option out of the questions, out of the options here, the correct option is the path to the pictures directory. What is the expected output of executing the following code? We define a function I with no parameters, the variable string there, and we are yielding some part of this. Okay, so we are creating a generator function here, and what we do here, we just pull out values one after another in this iteration through this generator, put it into X, and output this into the console. So let's see what's happening inside the function itself. What it does, it takes individual characters out of this defined strings, but not just one by one. It takes a slice of that. So we need to figure out actually what is this slicing. What does this slicing does? So this slicing doesn't use any first parameter, the left boundary, which means start from the beginning. Okay. It doesn't use any second parameter either, which means go all the way until the end. But it does use the third parameter in the slicing here, and the third parameter is in slicing is the step, right? So it will take every other character from the string. So it should yield A, then C, and then E. Okay. It will yield this one after another, and they will be printed. So what will be printed in the console is ACE or ACE, and that is the option here. Which program will produce the following output? And we have the weekdays printed, and this will be produced by the week header function or method of the calendar module, or actually this is not a method, it's a function. And the question we need to answer here is how exactly this output, how it will be produced. So the parameter we pass into the week header function is the length of the names of the weekdays. By default, it is 3. So by default would generate something like mon, 2, and so on. But because we are passing this parameter 2, they are shortened even further to just 2 characters, and this is the correct option. Okay. What is the expected output of the following code? We import calendar. We create a calendar object for us to manipulate. And then what we do, we take individual weekdays out of this iter weekdays generator from our object, and we just print this weekday. So basically, what this will generate, we kind of just need to know, right? As a matter of fact, I recall that this iterator only produces integers, right? So, and it will start from 0 by default. So that should be the correct option, because as we create this calendar, we do not pass any parameter here to the constructor. If we would, what we can do, we can indicate one parameter when we create the calendar, and this parameter is the first day of the week, right? So we, for example, can pass like Sunday and start the week from Sunday for this calendar, but we don't do that. And by default, it just assumes that Monday is the first day of the week. And that's why Monday will be also kind of printed first or generated first by these iter weekdays. And Monday maps to 0. Okay, Monday always maps to 0. So for example, this kind of output, well, it doesn't make sense anyway, because it could be starting from Tuesday then, and then 7 is not there at all. That has to be 0, and then 0 is Sunday. Okay, anyway, this is the correct option over here. Look at the code below. We have a tuple defined from 0 to 6 in sequence. Okay, we need to insert some line of code to produce foo, and foo is at least. Okay, Which snippet would you insert in order for the program to output the following result list? Okay, and it actually specifies it. It's a list. So I think what filter does, if I'm not mistaken, I hope I'm not, it takes in, if it takes in a tuple, it produces a tuple. If it takes in a list, it produces a list. I hope I'm not wrong here. So that's why to produce a list, we need to explicitly convert the result into list because we are starting with tuple over here. So it's either of the two, or these two options. Now let's see what it actually does. What it does, it filters this out by removing this item, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, two first items. And then the function which is applied in this filter then should produce false for both of the first items and produce true for all the others for this filter to work this specific way. Let's see. We have okay. This one is kind of really weird because this is x minus 0 is okay. Let's see what x minus 0 gives us. X minus 0 for zeros element, the zeros. So for 0, x minus 0 will be 0, right? And x minus 1 will be minus 1, okay? For the value of 1 and 0 and minus 1 will evaluate to false. Yes, false, because 0 is false, and whatever the other thing is, it will produce false. Okay, so far it works for us. And then for 1, this will be x minus 1, so this will be 1, and x minus 1, 1 minus 1 is 0. So actually this will also evaluate to false. This is interesting, right? I will need to check 2, for example. So 2 minus 0 will be 1, and 2 minus 1, excuse me, cannot calculate. So 2 minus 0 is 2, and 2 minus 1 is 1. So when these are ended, this converts to true, and this converts to true, and true produces true. And for every subsequent numbers, every subsequent number, this evaluate to true. So that actually looks like the correct answer, right? But let's check the other one just to make sure. So what this will produce for x equals 0, what it will produce? Is x equals 0? Yes, so this is true. Is x equals to 1? No, this is false, right? And pretty much we can also do this for 1. Is x equals 0? False. If x equals 1, true. For 2 and every subsequent number, is x equals 0? False. Is x equals 1? Also false. So every of these expression, just imagine like true and false produces false. False and true produces false. False and false produces false. So this will produce false for every number in the sequence. And that's why this is not the correct answer. Although it kind of looks tempting because it's more kind of reasonable thing to check values and then end them. This is the correct answer. It also takes advantage of the typecasting in Python. So the way that 0 is converted to false, and anything which is not 0 converts to true from integer. So this is the correct answer here. A bit tricky question, I think. What is the expected result of executing the following code? So we define a function, we define a string for I in range to n, which is the parameter for the function. We increase the string by itself, so plus equals is a concatenation of the string by itself, and we yield the result. Okay, this is a generator function. right? Which is good. So, and we use this generator function here in the for loop in the in statement, which means it will be pulling out each of the results yielded by the function, and subsequently we'll put it into X, and this X will be printed with no any end. Okay, let's see. So we take 2 as a parameter here. We take it as an argument, we pass it here. So this function takes this as a parameter n, and it loops through the range of n. So there will be 0 and 1. 2 is not included itself. So what it will do on the first iteration with 0, what it will do, it will take s and add another s to it, right? So this will be plus plus, and this will be yielded over here to the result. So and printed. So this print will be already plus plus here. On the next iteration, what it will do, it will take the s. So this is s. It will take the s itself and add itself to it, right? So it will take s plus plus and add another s plus plus, right? So this will be the new s, and it will yield the new s, and this new s will be printed. So then plus 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 plus, and overall we get 6 plus characters printed, and at this point it will stop the iteration. So the correct answer should be it will print 6 plus characters. What is the expected output of the following code? So we import datetime from datetime, and we create a datetime with this specific year, month, day, and time. And then we take this datetime and we print it in a specific format. Okay, so I'm a little bit suspicious of using like datetime variable, which is the same as the function name and the same as the module name. I would avoid this in practice, actually, but there is no any option which indicates, oh, there will be an error produced. So yeah, that should work in Python. I will trust this. So the only question is then, what specific output this format will produce? Okay, this is I think this one produces the short version of the year, which is 19 in this case. So it will be either this or this. Then, okay, let's see. The time is all the same, so it doesn't matter. The day is all the same, so it doesn't matter. 27, 27, 27. So the only question is, what does this capital B produce? I think it does produce the month in the form of a word, right? And because it's capital, it produced the longer form of the month as the word. And in our case, this is November. So I don't exactly recall that, but I think this is the November. That should be the November option. So let's see in the results whether this is correct. I think this is correct. What is the meaning of the value represented by erno, or for number, exist? Okay, so this is exception or error of file exists when we try to do something with the file system, right? File exists is the option, right? Or file, there is also kind of another possible candidate, file does not exist, but why it is not the correct option? Well, because file being existing is also maybe a problem, right? For example, you are trying to create a new file, or you are trying to create a new directory, and such directory already exists. So that will exactly generate this kind of error, file exists. Okay? Look at the following code. my list 1 to 3, we will need to insert a line of code here, and we will need to print foo, and foo will be a tuple. So because of these parentheses here, this is a tuple. 1, 4, 27. Okay. Out of these options, what we should select, we are using the map function, and we apply this map function to this list, right? And I think what map does, if it, similarly to the filter function, if it takes in a list, it produces a list. If it takes in a tuple, it produces a tuple. I hope I'm not wrong in that, but that's what I think. So then to convert this list to tuple, we will need to use the tuple function explicitly. So that should be either this option or this option. And then we only need to see for the specific Lambda function we are applying to these items here. So we produce 1, 4, 27, which cannot be produced like that because 3 multiplied by 3 should produce 9, but this produces 27. And this produces 3 to the power of 3, which is exactly 27. And same for number 2. 2 to the power of 2 is 4, and 1 to the power of 1 is 1. So that should be the correct answer. Which of the following open modes allow you to perform read operations? Okay, so read operations are performed either this way or this way. This is strictly a write operation, so and it will replace any file which is already there with the same name, so it will create a new file, or in other words, it will erase all the contents of the file. A is for append. It will add new lines or new data into the end of the file, and this is only for writing. R is for reading, and R plus is for reading and updating. So this will allow reading and writing at the same time. So both of these are for read options. What is the expected result of the following code? We have B defined as a byte array of 3, and we print this B. Okay, I think it will be displayed as an empty byte array will be displayed in hex, and this is the correct option. Yeah, it's hard to comment any more here, but just yeah, you need to remember that it is displayed in this way. Yeah, so one thing I guess I can only comment here is this value we pass here into the byte array. This is the indication of the length of the byte array, and this length by default will be filled in with zeros. So this excludes this option and this option, and we only are left with these two. And then you just need to remember that byte array is displayed by the print command in this way in hex. Okay. What is the expected output of the following code? So we import OS, we make the thumbnails directory, we navigate into this thumbnails directory, we define the list of sizes, small, medium, large. They are strings, okay? And for size in sizes, we create a directory with that name, okay? And we just list dir, okay? So what it does, it's very simple, right? Creates a directory, navigates into this directory, creates 3 subdirectories there, and just without moving anywhere, it just lists this directory. So we should end up with a list of these directories there, and it will list them. Yeah, and the real question here is whether it will also include the point, which is the current directory, and double point, which is the parent directory in its output. And the answer to this question is no. It will not include neither of these. It will only include 3 subdirectories which are there. This is just the output of the list dir function. You just need to remember it, I guess. Let's see the results for any errors.